Pharmaceutical giant Johnson & Johnson said Thursday it has applied to the Food and Drug Administration for an emergency use authorization for its one-dose COVID-19 vaccine, setting in motion a process that is all but sure to see a third such vaccine authorized. If given the green light by the agency, J&J's vaccine will likely start being used in late February or early March, though initial supplies are expected to be extremely limited. The FDA has already authorized a vaccine developed by Pfizer and its partner BioNTech, as well as one developed by Moderna. Both of those vaccines require 2 doses. The J&J vaccine, made by the company's vaccine arm, Janssen Pharmaceuticals, will be a welcome addition to the till now bumpy COVID vaccine rollout. The single dose makes it easier to deliver, as does the fact that the vaccine can be shipped and stored at refrigerator temperature. The Pfizer and Moderna vaccines require more complex cold chain requirements. FDA scientists will now pore over the data generated in the various clinical trials J&J has conducted on the vaccine. Before the vaccine can be authorized, an advisory committee of outside experts, known as the Vaccines and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee, will meet and review the data. The FDA does not have to follow its recommendation, but the agency generally does. It will likely take about 3 weeks for this process to play out. J&J revealed in late January that its vaccine was 66% effective at preventing moderate and severe COVID infections, with moderate infections defined as a positive COVID test plus one symptom of serious illness, shortness of breath, a chest scan showing pneumonia, or 2 more mild symptoms, including fever, chills, loss of taste or smell, or muscle pain. In the pivotal Phase 3 trial used to support its application, the vaccine was shown to work better in some regions of the world than others, likely due at least in part to the emergence of variant viruses, which in some cases appear to be less vulnerable to the antibodies the vaccine induces. The vaccine was 72% effective in the US, 66% in Latin America and 57% in South Africa, where one of the variants has become the dominant virus spreading. The vaccine appeared to be 85% protective against severe COVID infections, across all geographic regions where it was tested and in all age groups, the company said. There were no deaths or hospitalizations among people who received the vaccine. To date, more than 34 million doses of COVID vaccines have been administered in the U.S., with 6.5 million people having received 2 doses. This article was originally written by Helen Branswell for Stat News Media. Johnson & Johnson announces submission of application to the U.S. FDA for emergency use authorization of its investigational single-shot Janssen COVID-19 vaccine candidate. Johnson & Johnson intends to distribute vaccine to the U.S. government immediately following authorization, and expects to supply 100 million doses to the U.S. in the first half of 2021. New Brunswick, NJ, February 4, 2021. Johnson & Johnson, New York Stock Exchange, J&J, the company, today announced that Janssen Biotech, Incorporated, has submitted an application to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, requesting emergency use authorization, EUA, for its investigational single-dose Janssen COVID-19 vaccine candidate. The company's EUA submission is based on top-line efficacy and safety data from the Phase 3 Ensemble clinical trial, demonstrating that the investigational single-dose vaccine met all primary and key secondary endpoints. The company expects to have product available to ship immediately following authorization. Today's submission for emergency use authorization of our investigational single-shot COVID-19 vaccine is a pivotal step toward reducing the burden of disease for people globally and putting an end to the pandemic, said Paul Stoffels, MD, Vice Chairman of the Executive Committee and Chief Scientific Officer at Johnson & Johnson. Upon authorization of our investigational COVID-19 vaccine for emergency use, we are ready to begin shipping. With our submission to the FDA and our ongoing reviews with other health authorities around the world, we are working with great urgency to make our investigational vaccine available to the public as quickly as possible. The company has initiated rolling submissions with several health agencies outside the U.S., and will submit a conditional marketing authorization application, CMA, with the European Medicines Agency in the coming weeks. Manufacturing and supply chain information. The Janssen investigational vaccine is compatible with standard vaccine distribution channels. If authorized, Janssen's investigational single-dose vaccine is estimated to remain stable for 2 years at -4 degrees Fahrenheit, -20 degrees Celsius, at least 3 months of which can be stored in most standard refrigerators at temperatures of 36 degrees Fahrenheit, 46 degrees Fahrenheit, 2 degrees -8 degrees Celsius. The company will ship the vaccine using the same cold chain technologies it uses today to transport other innovative medicines. Janssen's investigational COVID-19 vaccine. The Janssen investigational COVID-19 vaccine leverages the company's ZDVac-registered sign vaccine platform, which was also used to develop and manufacture Janssen's European Commission-approved Ebola vaccine regimen and construct its investigational Zika, RSV, and HIV vaccines. The safety profile observed was consistent with other investigational vaccines using Janssen's AdVac-registered sign technology among more than 200,000 people to date. Phase 3 Ensemble Study Design. The Phase 3 Ensemble Study is a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial in adults 18 years old and older. The study was designed to evaluate the safety and efficacy of the Janssen investigational vaccine in protecting against both moderate and severe COVID-19 disease, with assessment of efficacy as of day 14 and as of day 28 as co-primary endpoints. The trial, conducted in 8 countries across 3 continents, includes a diverse and broad population. Research and development activities for the investigational Janssen COVID-19 vaccine, including the Ensemble clinical trial and the delivery of doses for the U.S., has been funded in whole or in part with federal funds from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Office of the Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response, Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, BARDA, under contract No. HHS 100,201,700,018C, and in collaboration with the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, NIAID, part of the National Institutes of Health, at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS. Janssen has worked with BARDA since 2015 on innovative solutions for influenza, chemical, biological, radiation and nuclear threats and emerging infectious diseases such as Ebola. In February 2020, Janssen and BARDA began work on the development of a COVID-19 vaccine based on Janssen's AdVac-registered sign technology. For more information on the company's multi-pronged approach to helping combat the pandemic, visit www.jnj.com/coronavirus. This article was taken from Johnson & Johnson press release.